Yeah.
So.
Oh, we're rolling.
We are.
All right. Last week, talked about the ins and outs of making good fish oil choices.
Yeah.
Consumer.
We snuck in. I guess we snuck in a little bit of whey protein at the start of that one too.
Yeah, that was in there. A little added bonus.
Yeah.
We're gonna stay on the supplement train though for this one. Basically, just about making the right choices, not like recommendations necessarily.
Yeah.
But how to make good supplement choices because it is something that's heavily marketed, especially to our audience. I mean,
totally.
Our phones are probably listening to you and I talk right now, and then all night tonight, all my advertisements are going to be about fish oil and other supplements.
Oh my God.
Right?
I should have okay, good.
Did you unplug that thing?
The Google Mini or whatever the hell it's called is luckily unplugged for this recording.
Weird little robot alien.
Yeah, I don't trust that thing one little bit, let me tell you.
No, when we were in Minnesota for Granite Games, there was one of those Alexa things right in the bedroom I was sleeping in, unplugged in the cupboard automatically. Get out of here.
No shit.
I'm not trusting that thing with anything. So weird. Especially in like an Airbnb. Like it's not even your place. Like why is that in there?
They're weird. Up to something.
I don't like that.
Someone mentioned this at the gym the other day, how they bought a jump rope on Amazon. And this happens all the time, but then like every time they go on Amazon that time after, or sorry, not even Amazon, right? It's every time you're on the internet and there's an ad pop up, it'll be about a jump rope. And they were like, they made a good point though. They were like, it's not that smart because am I really going to buy a jump rope every week? I got my jump rope. I'm not going to buy another one. So
they should switch it to like jump rope repair kits.
Yeah. So it's not that smart yet.
Yeah. It's getting there. Yeah.
If you really want to be freaked out, though, just listen to the Joe Rogan, Elon Musk podcast.
Oh, yeah.
They go, I don't even know what they were talking about. Talking about EI and...
Yeah, Elon Musk talks, AI. And I'm like, what?
I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah. It was an extra special version of Elon Musk. I think you get in that podcast, too. He was a little out to lunch during that one. That was interesting.
Smoking legal drugs.
Yeah. I mean, The Open's clear. We're like 3 weeks clear of the Open now.
Yeah.
We got lots of people.
Already creeping up to the next one now.
Oh, yeah. It's sneaking up. Yeah. We got our big dose of Instagram athlete posts about their Open experiences as if anyone cares. That stuff drives me crazy, dude. I get so annoyed. I don't know. I know so many people that did it. And there's good ways to do it and bad ways to do it. There's some people like, hey, this is my Open experience and this is what I did. And then there's people listing reasons why they didn't do as well as they wanted to. It's like, hey, no one cares. You know what's going to make you do better? Do better next time.
Yeah.
Don't tell Instagram that, your dog ran away or you didn't eat well. Like, get out of here.
Yeah.
Save it. Because that doesn't make you better at CrossFit. Talk about getting better at CrossFit. That's one thing I know for sure. If I know anything about coaching CrossFit, it's that talking about getting better at CrossFit doesn't make you better at CrossFit. Yes. Actually doing CrossFit and working hard makes you better at CrossFit.
And I'm just thinking of some of the top ones. Like Matt Frazier definitely comes to mind. Like his captions are never longer than like 2 sentences. Yeah, I'm not saying like to be short captions cause you to be a good athlete. Just saying like maybe there's something there.
Yeah.
But also what's he gonna I guess he's got nothing to complain about.
That's right.
But that's because he's putting the work in.
That's right. Yeah. He's got no time for long captions. And you know what? Somebody else probably does his Instagram too. He's too busy working out.
He's definitely not.
Yeah. But I mean, opinions are like buttholes. We all got one, and that's mine. Everyone's allowed to do what they want.
Someone's opinion.
But I'm also allowed to give my opinion on what they're doing. That's just the way the world works now.
Some people's opinions are just a little dirtier than others.
Yeah. All right. Making good supplement choices. I mean, there's a lot of different layers to this one. One would just be from a health standpoint, like choosing stuff that's not going to be of detriment to your health, especially if you're training in whatever capacity, whatever methodology you're following, you're probably doing that because you enjoy it, one. And then two, if it's health focused, you're actually doing it to be healthier. You're not doing it to be competitive. In some methodologies, there's outlets to be competitive with that. CrossFit, powerlifting, weightlifting. There's competitions that you can sign up for. But I would say for 99.9% of us, we don't make money off of this sport, which makes you a recreational athlete or somebody who does it for fun, right? So you can't really make supplement choices based on what you're seeing the top 0.01% making. You need to make the supplement choices of your own. And then second, if you are going to be competing in any way, whether you're paid or not paid, whether it's for fun or local or a sanctional or like a provincial national competition, you need to make sure you're complying with the standards and regulations that those separate entities have set up in order to keep the sport as fair and clean as possible. There's even apps for that though. There's a clean sport app for every single country.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Canada has one. When we were in England, they had us download theirs because we're over there. And then
what's the app show, or like what?
It's there's multiple different areas to it. I deleted it, or else I just kind of go through it. But from what I can remember, it's just a general outline of the organization and what it does. You can go as far as searching an ingredient to find out if it's banned in or out of competition.
That's cool.
Or just altogether banned, or if it's allowed.
Yeah. So
you get clarity right away. There's no guessing.
Is that through like NSF or something separate?
I think NSF would be like the American.
Oh, okay. Then Canada has its own.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of has their own version of the same sort of organization.
Okay.
I forget what the one was in England, but they had one, some sort of governing body to look over everything. But a lot of sports don't have a governing body, which is where it gets a little weird. CrossFit does have WADA, and that's what they use. So there is one there. I just don't think, since it's not mandated education for CrossFit athletes at like a local level, or even at like in the open, like unless you're top in the world, you're not getting tested year round.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of gaps there. And I don't think it's pushed to the point where it should be in order to make sure that the sport's actually clean.
Yeah. That's an interesting subject in general, like not just in CrossFit and functional fitness, but like everywhere. Like, I don't know if, do you remember, this was a few years ago now, but when, you remember the name Dick Pound? Great name. Great name, by the way. I'm not making that up.
I do remember the name solely because it's so hilarious.
Yeah.
Because I'm immature and it's a funny name.
Yeah. I don't know. Some people call him Dick Pounder or Poundy Dick. Whatever you want to call him. Dick Pound.
Richard.
Oh, God. But yeah, he was on, he basically like, for lack of a better word, like attacked the NHL a few years ago, claiming like, so this guy, what is his title? He's like head of the World Anti-Doping Agency or something. Maybe that's
what
WADA?
It is.
Yeah, maybe he's like head of like WADA or some shit.
I never got that far. I couldn't keep a straight face.
I know. I can't remember. But anyways, yeah, he kind of like more or less like attacked the NHL, saying like their regulations are too loosey-goosey. Kind of even suggested like, you know, like probably a lot of these guys are on steroids, blah, blah, blah. And then like the main person who kind of like came back, perhaps not surprisingly, was Don Cherry. And I even remember like at one point in time, like both of these guys were on Coach's Corner, like just sitting there kind of like almost like debating about this.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, anyways, I don't know. I just thought of that when you brought that up, because even something like that, like one of the biggest major sports in the world, it's like we don't really hear a lot about that or know like much about it, right? Like even, and again, maybe this is because less guys in the NHL are using drugs, and so you just don't hear about guys testing positive, or maybe the regulations are a little bit more loosey goosey. I don't know. I don't know enough about it, but
Yeah.
it's interesting. You don't really hear much about what actually goes on there.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know. But then on the other hand, like baseball, you always hear about guys getting busted.
Yeah. So you wonder,
I
like,
don't know.
is it actually just that sport isn't?
Yeah.
But I mean,
I don't know.
to me, like, if I was a hockey player
Yeah.
at that level, I'd be more apt to use steroids than if I was a baseball player,
Yeah. I don't know.
I guess.
People always make the argument, like, it's a terrible argument where, and I've Sean Avery makes this argument in his book, good read by the way, where it's like, why would a hockey player want to use steroids? Because then you'll just be all big and bulky. But it's
Yeah.
like, well,
Yeah.
it's not that it automatically makes you big and bulky, right? Like there's also the fact that you're going to be able to recover like
That's right.
significantly faster.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to squat more, deadlift more. All of that's going to still translate to on ice performance.
Yeah.
Like stronger ligament, and on and on and on. So it's a terrible argument. I'm not saying guys use it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and that's just one performance enhancing drug too.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's so many different shapes and sizes of performance enhancing drugs. It's not just like a steroid to get jacked. Like there's other performance enhancing drugs.
The list of
you can't see it.
Yeah. It's like the list of things these days is, I don't know, it seems pretty like, what's the word? I don't know. It's never ending is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, for sure it is. And then there's the intricate pieces where it's like, this is allowed in competition, this is allowed out of competition, but not in competition. This is banned outright. There's a lot of different, but I mean, it's not a burden, right? Like if you're an athlete and you're competing at that level, you need to know these things. That's what, even when like CrossFit complies with WADA. So when I hear these regionals athletes testing positive for what they call a tainted supplement, when it's not a tainted supplement because it's on the label.
Yeah, that's on you.
It's not tainted. You just didn't know your shit. Yeah. And that's your fault, right? So it goes along with these crazy CrossFit athlete Instagram posts where like, oh, I didn't know and I'm going to grow and be a better person from this. It's like, listen, I don't care. Yeah. You tested positive. Don't post. Stay off Instagram. Don't post. I don't need to hear your story. You tested positive. You're out.
Yeah.
Gone. See ya. That's it.
Yeah. And for those of you wondering about this, saying, how is there banned substances and supplements? Oh, there is. So that batch that we were looking at a couple weeks ago, like you said, literally some of them will just post it right there on the label. They don't really care. They just throw it right on there.
Especially those larger brands, they can't lie, right? If they lie, their product is going to be like, there's serious implications. Once you get to the point where you're big enough, the FDA is looking over your stuff. Like you have to make sure your label matches your product. It's right on there. If you don't know that that's a banned substance, you saying, I don't know, ignorance doesn't work. Yeah. That's not how it works. You have no excuse to not know.
Yeah.
A, what's banned, and then B, what's going into your body.
The only exception I see is if you're buying something like an NSF certified supplement, which is, I forget what it stands for, but anyways, it's a certification that is recognized by WADA, the anti-doping agency, to be a safe supplement, right? So the only exception I see is when they've done their research, they've taken the care to buy only NSF certified products, and then somehow like an ingredient snuck in there that's not even listed on the product, and then they test positive. That's like the only...
That's a tainted supplement, right? And then that's going to pretty much be the demise of that company, because if somebody big enough tests positive because their product is tainted, they're done. That's it. Yeah. Like the legal implications on that would bury a supplement company. They don't make enough money to handle that.
So what did you think about, I think her name, the Canadian girl, Emily Abbott? So we should give the listeners the background story on this first, because it's
Yeah,
It's pretty interesting.
it is for sure. So I forget exactly what the substance was.
Yeah, I
If
don't
it,
remember
I
either.
forget whether it was like a SARMs or some sort of beta blocker or something like that. But her claim is that her boyfriend or husband was taking a sublingual product,
Yeah,
and
like
through
knowingly.
he was like, he's not competing.
Yeah,
So for me, like, if you're not competing,
have
you
at
do
it,
whatever you
yeah.
want. It doesn't matter. Like, if you would just want to get jacked for the beach and you choose to take the risk to do that, then I mean, do I agree? No, but it doesn't matter. My opinion doesn't matter in that case, right? Because they're not violating anything other than they're not even violating their own code of ethics, because clearly they don't care. But he was knowingly taking this, apparently through kissing. That substance was then in very trace amounts, like super, super small. And I listened to her podcast when it first started, but I forget the exact amount. But
Yeah, it was tiny.
it was like,
which makes
it was
wonder.
An exceptionally low amount.
Yeah.
Very, very, very low. But it was still in her system when she was tested. So then you pop positive, and that's it. You're done. Because WADA's implications for that specific substance, like, they don't really care.
It's like a zero tolerance.
Yeah, it's like, it's there. It's no how much, but it was there. And then,
because I guess hypothetically you could make, like, playing devil's advocate, you could make the argument that she took it so long ago that, you know, it's just been used up. It's kind of been recycled through her body, and then at the time of testing, it just so happens that because she hasn't taken it in so long, there was only like very, very trace amounts left.
Right.
But, you know, like,
which is what John Jones is running into a problem right now. The UFC fighter, they keep he keeps showing trace amounts of some substance. Again, I don't remember the exact name of it. But he gets tested a lot, and it, like, some test is gone, some test is back because of what you were just talking about.
Yeah.
Like, it just stays in the system for so long, and sometimes it gets missed, sometimes it doesn't, because it's such a small amount. Well, when there's a zero, like, the tolerance is zero on that substance, then you can't win that argument, because that's it. Just to be cliche, it is what it is at that point.
yeah.
There's another UFC fighter that recently tested positive, and from what I've seen, there hasn't been any information released as to what and how much and all the ins and outs of what actually transpired. But the same thing, like, it's just, you're done. I mean, in sports like that too, when you're making a living punching people in the face, like, if you're taking a performance enhancing drug, that has to be taken seriously. You know, like, you're trying to physically harm the other person. That's how you win. So having an advantage by having a banned substance in your system, regardless of how it got there, that's an interesting Joe Rogan podcast too. When he has forget who it is. I'm forgetting a lot of things. The guy he's a researcher for WADA, and talks about the John Jones situation and why he keeps testing positive, and how small this trace amount actually is, and how irrelevant it is at this point. Like you said, like, it's been in the system for so long, like, it's not actually benefiting him anymore, but it keeps popping up. But I mean, regardless, like, all these people that we've mentioned are paying the price for their crime, basically, whether it was intentional or not.
Yeah.
They now have a ban of, like, I think John Jones was like 2 years, that got decreased. Emily Abbott's is like 4 or something like that.
Yeah.
TJ Dillashaw's is a year right now, because it's still kind of under investigation. And for these cases where, like, it seems to be 100% accidental, like, I feel bad.
Yeah.
But those are the rules. At the same time, like, that you can't be like, oh, you did it by accident. Okay, fine. Because then everyone's going to say, oh, I didn't mean to.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, yeah, you just have to draw the line somewhere. And unfortunately, there's going to be people that kind of, you know, get the shitty end of the stick with that deal. But I mean, rules are rule. And like you said, if you make that kind of like up for debate, then yeah, everyone's just going to make that claim, and then it gets real messy. Like, you just kind of have to set the standard. This is what it is. Sorry, some people are going to like, you know, have shitty luck with this, but I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
That I didn't know that about the fighter though, but that's interesting because like when you were saying that it keeps kind of I don't know, circulating or whatever, like it will periodically show up in the test.
Yeah.
That makes me think about like that conversation we had with Lindsay a couple weeks ago about, so like so we store a lot of toxins in fat cells, right?
Right.
And those can stay there for a long period of time, or they may be flushed out. So what's one thing that flushes out toxins in fat cells? Well, it's very rapid weight cuts.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering, like a fighter going through those weight cuts, like is that just flushing a little bit of that out, and then he's testing positive, and then so I don't know.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. That's a cool point.
I don't know if that's something that would be stored in your fat cells. I don't really know.
Yeah.
I would think there'd be a chance. I don't know, because I'm sure at least some of the drug is like interpreted as a toxin.
Right.
Meaning it would be stored there.
Stored.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. It was hard to follow. It was kind of like listening to a Rhonda Patrick podcast, right? There's so many words going out, and I'm like, whoa. Slow down.
And Joe was just like, is saturated fat good or bad?
Yeah. He's basically like, so he did or he didn't.
Yeah.
So he did or he didn't. And the guy was completely staying neutral and just wasn't speaking on the fact that whether or not he thought guilt was there or not. Because like these guys that are in charge of those organizations and those testing, they can't have that emotional connection, right? Because if you are somebody listening to this and you listen to Emily Abbott's podcast on the Shrugged Collective, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Listening to her talk about it, it's like,
she's pretty sincere.
Very. And it made me feel absolutely horrible for her as a person, but for the sport, there cannot be a gray area. Yeah. So I think like the only choice was made, not the right choice, but the only choice was made. It's like, it can't be like, you can't take into consideration, like how it got there and where it came from and who did what, and then feelings and emotions. Oh, they feel bad, so I'm going to decrease their thing. Yeah. Like that can't be, when you're talking about sport, that can't be part of the conversation. It has to be black and white. You did or you didn't. And then these are the rules. Oh, you violated the rules. You go down the checklist. This violation is this suspension. Boom, done. Yeah. That's it. Can't be gray. Can't have it.
No.
The shitty part is when people don't research their stuff and pop positive for a banned substance that's in a pre-workout. Oh man, it's like I said earlier, ignorance can't be an excuse, but you read that and you're like, I know exactly, I recognize that substance. I go and I look at this pre-workout, I'm like, yep, there it is. And then she posts 3 days later, this is the pre-workout I was taking. Yeah, it is, because that's where that product came from. And she wasn't alone. I think there was 2 or 3 other people that tested positive for the exact same substance in that same regional year. It's like, man,
yeah,
you got to feel bad.
My sympathy, really.
Yeah. I
mean, yeah, but at the same time, you know, I don't know. You're a competitive athlete. Take an extra minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
The craziest part about that, or maybe like the most, I don't know, like emotional part of that Emily Abbott thing was when she actually starts to talk about. So I think it might have been fiance, like they might have been engaged before this happened. I don't know for sure, but anyways, when she starts to talk about like how her feelings about her fiance and like her trust and all of that has like completely changed, that's when you're like, oh man, like this is like, that's when I was like, you know, like I again, this was just personally my impression from listening to the podcast was like, I kind of think like I believe her here. Like I think this is what happened, because when like she totally fucking breaks down completely. And it's like, I don't know if I can even stay with my partner anymore because like if he lied to me about this, yada yada yada, and so that's the hard part there. Yeah,
because he was willingly taking this substance, but he didn't tell her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just the resentment that
Yeah.
she would have because she was having an incredible year. And did that substance make a difference in her performance? No, because she wasn't taking it in that way. Because I choose to, just like you are, I'm choosing to believe her story because, I mean, if you hear it, I mean, if she's either telling the truth or she's a complete psycho.
Yeah, no shit.
Right?
Yeah.
And like is amazing.
Total pathological lie.
That's right. Yeah. So, but it was there. So as heartbreaking as it is, like WADA and CrossFit can't be like, they can't take that into consideration. Oh man,
I've heard
I can't even imagine.
I've heard of a similar story to that in the Olympics before. Actually, it was like an athlete tested positive because, or again, like according to their reports, the only possible explanation was because they hooked up with another athlete, like Olympic Village, right? You hear all these stories about athletes hooking up in the Village through that. So like, it was like, I don't know, you can kind of visualize that yourself. Obviously there's going to be some passing of the fluids when that's going on.
Yeah.
I don't know. The athlete actually gave like the full detail about what she thinks happened, what might have happened during when they were hooking up and whatever, about how that substance got into her. But it's funny, like you wouldn't think anything like that would ever happen, but totally good.
Yeah, and that crushes, not to be cheesy, but that like crushes people's dreams.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like they work, these people, and like I'm not discounting the hard work that all these people put in and the tainted, that I'm using hand quotes, tainted supplements, because they're not tainted because ones that like it's on the label, but these circumstances of ignorance, I guess, that caused them to test positive and they didn't even know, like 100% would have, like if they got asked to do the test, they're like, yeah, sure, no problem, because I know in my heart that I'm clean, and then it comes back positive. Like I don't know. What do you do? Yeah, those stories are rough. So I mean, that's from a sport perspective.
Yeah.
The easiest thing, as time consuming and ridiculous as it is when you buy a new supplement or you're going to try a new supplement, you have to make sure the certification is there. And then you have to cross-reference the ingredients list and that safe sport for your country, whatever that is, or whatever country you're competing in, because it varies per country sometimes. Yeah. And you got to go top to bottom through your list. I did it. And you got to do it. Yeah. You got to check every single thing. It sucks because there's no search bar. You got to go manually through it. Try to figure out whether
that's brutal.
It sucks. It takes forever.
A search bar. They gotta
that shit. If there was a search bar, I'm going to be real mad because I didn't do that. Like if there's like some crazy app that has this simplified for people, but like you gotta like every single ingredient and every single product. It sucks, but I mean, if you're an athlete and you want to compete at any level, and you care about the sport, then you won't cheat and you'll do this stuff.
And I mean, it's not like you have to do it like constantly nonstop. Like just find a brand that you can trust and stick with it.
Yeah. Don't change it.
Yeah.
Stay away from blends.
Yep.
If your pre-workout has some crazy intense hardcore name like No Days Off, then maybe check the ingredients on that one or choose a different product.
Ronnie Coleman has a pre-workout, eh?
He has a whole supplement.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, buddy.
Oh my God! Could you imagine? Oh God!
Poor guy can hardly walk now.
Yeah, that documentary is crazy.
Yeah. All right, we'll take a quick break. Oh, you haven't?
No.
Oh man, you're missing out.
Okay.
You gotta check it out.
Lance Armstrong documentary.
Yeah, we were just chatting. There's on Netflix. It's called. Wait, I'm actually thinking of two different ones now. So, but both of them very worth checking out. Both of them are related to this topic. So the one is called Icarus.
Oh, I saw that one.
You've seen that one?
Jeez,
so
man.
That's the one with like the Russian doping scandal, right?
Yeah. Aside from like
That is
how bad that was,
insane.
that dude is so smart.
Oh,
He's
man.
way too smart.
Yeah.
People shouldn't be that smart.
He's
It
like,
shouldn't be allowed.
yeah, it's
Like to do that and get away with it for that long, like
Yeah.
you gotta be amazed by the intelligence of that
it's
dude.
impressive.
Yeah.
It's like the perfect example of like the evil scientist.
Yeah, for
I don't
sure.
know.
Yeah, the guy probably could have cured cancer, but he chose to
that's
make
the
sure
thing.
that people didn't test positive in Russia instead.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen that one, gotta check that one out. It's about when Russia hosted the Summer Olympics, right?
I think so.
And they were literally like, this was from like the government down, like a totally like structured, like perfectly planned out, organized process. Like this was 100% intentional.
Yeah.
They were going to dope up their athletes and they were going to win as many medals as they possibly could and cover up their tracks. It's pretty insane.
Have
like
you seen
the military was involved.
Yeah. Have you seen, just on a simple level, like the actual thing that you pee into, the cup?
Oh, I
and
think
how
so.
intense that thing is?
I think so.
Dude, it's like a locking system that can't be broken.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
They got matching numbers and like just things hidden. And it's incredible.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
That's saying something.
Yeah.
The fact that they were able to kind of go around that system and
because
the people who do the doping, it's neutral, right? Even though Russia's hosting, it's not that Russia's running the doping. Like,
no, it should
checks,
be WADA.
Right? Like, I think it's a neutral thing. So they had to get the military's help to like go in there, smuggle the samples out of there, switch them. Like, it's wild.
It's crazy.
That's definitely got to check that one out.
Yeah, and the numbers matching and the computer stuff that would have to happen behind the scenes to make everything. Yeah, crazy. And then Lance has one too.
Yeah, so that one I can't remember the name of, but it's like, I don't know, it might even be better than the other one. It's same idea, like goes into, and there's also thank you, evil scientists in that one too. Like the guy who actually helps Lance dope and get away with it.
Really?
So you gotta check that one out. Watch. Very interesting. And then just the background on Lance too is it's insane. Like the amount of, so that's the perfect example of like legitimate pathological liar.
Mm-hmm.
Like that guy, amount of times he was accused, went on, big TV shows, was blatantly asked, like, are you doping? And on and on and on. And just for so long, he was just like cold-faced, God, no, like never.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Gets cancer, comes back, goes on the drugs, starts winning again. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Guy had more endorsements than any athlete in the world, I think.
Did he?
Up there for sure. Like the whole Live Strong thing.
Yeah.
That was all him. Like, they took it away.
Yeah. That's at that point you're talking about a loss of millions and millions and millions of dollars, not let alone your credibility.
Yeah.
And your whole image is tainted forever.
Yeah. That one's on Netflix too.
I wonder with people like that, like are people so like we have athletes that you remember from 20 years ago, whatever. Not that many though that I can think of.
No.
So like you wonder if anyone's even going to remember Lance Armstrong in like 40 years.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like I don't remember good or bad athletes from 40 years ago. No. I don't know. I couldn't name one.
No.
Right, like there's some hockey players, but I think that's more just because we're Canadian and it's talked about all the time.
Other than like the biggest names.
Yeah.
Although 40 years ago, that's a while ago. I was going to say, because the names that come to my head are probably more like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you wonder, right?
Muhammad Ali.
Yeah. But then you think of somebody who did like an athletic event or some sort of like massive accomplishment for a good cause, like Terry Fox. You don't think any Canadian will ever forget that name, and that name won't get lost, I don't think. Yeah, and that wasn't even sport. That was a whole other cause. I don't know. So I mean, we talked a lot about like athletes and stuff. just for the general health enthusiast, someone who's exercising to be healthier. And I mean, I think if you've listened to this podcast consistently, we've explained exercise and nutrition choices from like a longevity standpoint.
Yeah.
And that's obviously, that's where the true benefit of having a health-minded lifestyle is going to pay off, is in terms of just quality of life over time, not necessarily quantity, right? Like we're not guaranteeing more years. But if you're healthier, the further away you get from 6 feet under, the longer it takes for you to, typically it's going to be more of an abrupt sort of thing. But anyway, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? Like just quality in general of life. So like if that's your focus in training, what sort of things like would you recommend people look out for when they're making nutrition choices in terms of like labels or products or anything?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Well, definitely what we talked about last time is like the proprietary blends. I mean, to me, that's like a company, if they don't want to actually tell you like how much of this and that is in it, then I mean, why even waste your time, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's a big one, even apart from like the banned substances.
Yeah.
Because again, it goes back to like if you're buying this for, it could be athletics, could be quality of life, like the fish oil, the creatine, those can improve quality of life 100%. So if that's what you're looking for, then you want to know how much is in there. So,
right. Steer more towards that sort of stuff.
Yeah. And then I'm like, to me, I would also tell people, try and find something that doesn't have added sugar. Again, it's just unnecessary. Like, is it going to kill you? Absolutely not. But I mean, again, like for product, or if a company's adding sugar in there to make it taste sweeter, then to me, that just tells me that they kind of have the wrong priorities.
Yeah.
I guess. And I mean, like we eat enough sugar as it is. Like you don't need to be getting it in your supplements too.
Right.
Like if anything, I think the better companies out there are probably the ones that make the supplements that taste like not that great, right? Like a little bland. So.
Yeah. And just from experience for me, like even in a pre-workout, like if your pre-workout comes out and it's like a bright blue,
yeah,
or like the color matches the flavor, maybe not. Like
that's a good point. Actually,
one company that I like their pre-workouts because of the ingredients that are in them. It's like it comes out brown. Yeah. Looks like mud. Looks like muddy water. Good. Right? Like it doesn't. Yeah. There's no added colors and that sort of thing. Yeah. Are there added flavors? Absolutely. Pre-workouts just in general. Like if you're training for health, why do you take it? You're not healthy if you need a pre-workout to work out.
Yeah. Right? Like unless it's a couple exceptions in there, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
If you're buying like a
woolly mammoth pre-workout or
something like that. What else is another big one? Like C4 or something like that. Like, you're going to like one of those brands, like that's strictly just like to get you pumped up stuff.
Yeah.
Totally. That's not like pre-workout in terms of like effectively dosing like a caffeine supplement with a creatine or with a beta alanine or something like that. That's effectively dosed. Then that's a different conversation. But buying
that's what I was thinking.
Buying just like I'm gonna want to like jump out my car door while it's driving sort of supplement, or you're sitting at a stoplight and you get so pumped to go to the gym, you're like freaking out. Like if you need that in order to get to the gym, maybe going to the gym isn't something that you should be doing that day. You got to work backwards and work on your lifestyle stuff instead.
Yeah, you made a good point actually on the color dyes. Like, so again, that podcast we had with Lindsay, lots of good stuff in there. Definitely listen to it if you haven't already. But we talked a little bit about those xenoestrogens. Well, a lot of them come from color dyes. So one that comes to mind is, I think it's called like Red-40. You see that in probably a lot of supplements, but even a lot of just like I don't know, like Jellos, a lot of candies and that type of thing. So again, like if you see dyes in your pre-workout or your supplement in general, like it's just like, why waste your money, you know?
Right.
And then I also think the artificial sweeteners should be avoided. So I think still another thing, a lot of debate over, but I think to me, it's just another one of those things where it's like, well, if there's a pretty good possibility that it has some adverse health risks, which there's some good research showing that, despite what Lane Norton says, then just go for the naturally sweetened stuff, or even like the unsweetened stuff. I get that that's not for everyone. Like not everyone wants to choke back an unflavored, I don't know, whatever, like a beta alanine or something like that. But I mean, that'd be the best option if you're willing to do that. And then if not, then something naturally sweetened with like stevia.
And there's a lot of companies that go that route now. Yeah, for sure. I mean, like we're on the topic of health focused, right? If you're training and you're truly training to be healthier, whatever that means for you, then, and you're not training for a competitive outlet or an athlete, because that's a different conversation. And we talked about this before, like on the spectrum of wellness, like an athlete is closer to sick than they are well the majority of their competitive season. Totally. Right? That's not where you want to stay. Like that's why athletes also have off seasons, so that they can come back and just be well and recover and adapt and things like that need to happen. If I were to pick one thing that's going to be the demise of a lot of CrossFit athletes that I personally work with and just people that I know, is they spend so much time on the far end of the spectrum competing and pushing and killing themselves in the gym that they never recover. And it's working for them now, but we don't know the long-term effects of something like that.
That's the problem.
Because it's so new. And it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
It's so much inflammation. It's so much stress. It's so much masking fatigue with caffeine and masking soreness with like NSAIDs and like rubs and massages and all these like scraping tools. And like, if you need to use if you need to warm up for half an hour to make your body feel normal again before you can train, something's broken, dude. Like you're not training for health, and they know that. They're training to be competitive, but
you just get caught in that cycle for sure.
Yeah, so that's a problem. But if you're not that and you're training for health, all the more reason not to go that direction. It's not necessary.
And inflammatory processes are fucking delayed. Like those aren't things that are immediate. Like that takes a long time to progress. So like you said, like you might feel fine right now. Not even fine, but you might not fully notice it right away, but God, yeah, I agree. Like several years down the road, if you keep beating the shit out of your body that way, then I would think, it could creep up on you. Mm-hmm. If you're not doing all those things away, like to actually like recover your body. And I don't mean like extra scoop of protein powder, extra fish oil, extra creatine. Like, no, it's not just about the supplements. I know people fall into that trap where it's like, oh, I'm going to start training more. I'm going to try and hit that next level. What supplements can I use? Like supplements are just that, supplements, like supplements to healthy diet, healthy lifestyle. Like those are the ones that make the biggest difference. It's like, can you get small 1% gains from supplements? Absolutely. But those aren't, I wouldn't even call that, like, it's not the most important thing. It's not second most, third most. I mean, I would put it that, like, I don't know, hypothetically, like 5 or 6 on the list, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's so many things that you need to be concerned with before that if your number one priority is high-level athlete.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, like, that 1% increase in a session could be just a placebo thing, too. Like, I could tell you that I'm giving you a scoop of my pre-workout, but really I'm just giving you some baking soda and Mio spray or something for some taste, and you're like, oh yeah, this is gonna get me pumped up. Exactly, man, I added 5 pounds to my back squat today. It's all about that supplement. It's like, no, I tricked you.
Yeah,
but that could happen. Feeling good, feeling bad going into the gym. We've talked about this stuff before too.
Yeah. But the placebo thing probably not going to save you though from a serious complication or condition down the road.
Yeah. That's something with, especially like this year, I'm watching like leaderboards and stuff because I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
So I'm watching like sanctional leaderboards. I'm seeing a lot of the same names signed up for a lot of sanctional online qualifiers, and I'm like, you're doing okay now. Okay, so do you want to have one competitive season in CrossFit and then be broken for the rest of your life?
That's right.
If you escape out the other side of that, are you going to be able to be a good competitive CrossFit athlete for a long time?
Yeah.
I mean, you one interview that, so let's go to the best, okay, arguably the best to ever be Rich Froning. Matt Fraser, I feel like follows a very similar path to him as well. I remember very distinctly, because this was at a time in my CrossFit career where I wanted to do more. Listen to a Rich Froning podcast, and he did one competitive season a year, and that was the Open, Regionals, and the CrossFit Games. So he actually had a season. And I think that's a really big distinction. Like Matt Fraser did Dubai this year and ended up qualifying for the games. But you don't see the people that are winning, right? So let's pay attention to that. There's a lot of people in the middle that like are doing a lot. Okay, fine. But the people that are winning, they're setting up their year for a season. And that's they're also professional athletes, right? And then they win because of a number of factors. But I definitely believe one of those factors being that they're actually giving themselves a setup season for their progression through the year to make sure that they can perform at the highest level when it counts.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, another factor, like you can't forget about the fact that they're traveling all around the world, like physically being in a plane and crossing time zones, like that messes you up.
Yeah.
Like you want to talk oxidative stress.
Yeah.
Go jump on an airplane and go up, I don't know how high they go, 30,000 feet. Like that is one of the worst things you can do for your body. Doing that every once in a while, no problem. Absolutely. Like people travel, it's just part of living. But if you're doing that on a regular basis, worse yet, if you're jumping off a plane, beating the shit out of your body, and then jumping back on a plane to go to another event, like if you do that consistently over a long period of time, throw in there like those flip-flopping around in time zones.
Yeah.
Like that's massive. We've talked about this a lot, like your circadian rhythm, the importance of actually like being in sync with basically the sun and the moon. Like that's massive. If you get out of whack on something like that for long periods of time, like that's catching up to you.
Yeah, for sure. And then rocking pre-workout when you land to try to stay awake isn't going to help.
That's right. Just trying to like band-aid it with extra caffeine, stimulants, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that pretty much summarizes my thoughts on the whole supplement thing for health. Like if it isn't going to make you healthier, then why are you doing it? Yeah. And if you are using it as a Band-Aid to hide an emotion or feeling or something that your body's trying to tell you, then probably not a good idea.
So, but this idea of like excessive training and doing travel and crossing time zones and all that, the idea that all this is going to mess you up, that's also what I find most interesting about CrossFit, is that more than any other sport, like your success and performance is like not 100%, but like very, very massively dependent on essentially your physical performance, right? Like physically, how do you feel? So like what I mean by that is, other sports, baseball, hockey, basketball, on and on and on. I would argue that there is a much larger skill component with those other ones versus CrossFit. Is there skill in CrossFit? Oh, damn right. Absolutely. That's why like athletes who come from another sport pick up a lot of the movements faster. But your performance is usually based on like literal, like physical measurements. So things like VO2 max, like top end strength, like whatever you want to look at. Whereas if you look at one of those other sports, like I'll just use the example of hockey, like this is very, very common. It's like the guy who is the most out of shape guy on the team can be the best player on the team, right?
Philly cheese.
Yeah, like this. I mean, I can't tell you how many guys I played with who were like bottom quarter of like physical just fitness on the team, but then they were the best player on the team because they just were like blooming with skill, right? And they had enough skill to get them by. CrossFit, you can't get by with just skill. Like you have to have that physical fitness. Right. So like point of this spiel is that makes like the travel, the nutrition, the sleep, the circadian rhythm stuff, all of that, it makes it like that much more important. So that's what I find so interesting with the sport is like what advantages can I take? Like, you know, I'm jumping on a plane. What can I do beforehand to mitigate some of that damage in the air? What can I do when I land to actually get me back on that proper sleep-wake cycle? Right. This is what I'm passionate about. That's what I find so interesting is like, how can we biohack is the best word or best phrase, I guess, to summarize all of that. It's like, how can my trick my body into like being more resistant to this stress, adapting better to this one. And so that's what I like. Yeah. And you know that's what the best people are. They're looking into. I would say, things. Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise their performance would decline for sure. All right. That's all I got. Wrap it up. I'm out. Me too. There's steam. Yeah. Did a double. Excuse me. Double header. Shh. Excuse me. I think we already told him in the first one. Oh, yeah. True. So maybe the next one, though, after this one, or I don't know, one or two after, you guys will get the next guest. I think. Yeah, it's coming something quick. Like that. It's coming up. Yeah. Probably not one you guys would expect. I don't think. This will be like totally, it's by no means unrelated to the podcast, but I'm just saying like if you were to guess who we would have on next or what we would talk about, there's no way you're guessing this. No, for sure not. Yeah. Trying. Yeah. It's going to be pretty cool. Yeah. Area of things that you don't even know exist. That's right. There's people that do it and they do it really, really well. Yeah. And we're going to learn about what that means. Yeah. Let's just say Jesse and I are going to be two potatoes. That's right. Sitting here listening because it's not going to make any sense to me. Nope. All right. Okay. Peace.